Okay.
Previous chapter discussed the destruction of Edom in the sense this enemy of Israel, which will bring the sense of comfort, not because we should rejoice with the downfall of our enemy per se, but because it's, at least in my opinion, it's a demonstration of God back on Israel's side, and this rabbinic idea of Esav and Yaakov, this idea first given over to Rivka, when one is on top, the other is below. And so now we can move, now that we sort of have the destruction of the enemy, we can move into nicer prophecies. The Ata ben Adam, chapter 36 again. Hinaveh el Hare Yisrael, ve'amarta Hare Yisrael shemut dvar. So God says to Yechezkel, prophesy to the mountains of Israel and say to the mountains as follows. Now we've seen many prophecies where Yechezkel's been told to speak to the mountains, and this one's going to be a little different. Your enemy gloated over you and he said, well, ha ha ha. Those places that were these great heights of Israel, they've become our possession, right? That was Edom who said that. Therefore say, just because you lusted over our possessions, just because you become, right, just because you've become an embarrassment, your reputation has been ruined, right? These things have been done by the enemies to you. Lachein Hare Yisrael. Therefore, listen now what I have to say, mountains of Israel. Shemu Dvar Adonai Elohim. Ko amar Adonai Elohim la'arim u'legvot lafikim ve'lageya ayot ve'lecharavot hashmomot ve'la'arim hane'ezavot asher hayu levaz u'lela'ag misaviv. So say to the mountains of Israel, say to the hill, say to the waters and the valley and the wasteland and the deserted city that have become a laughingstock, that other people look at and say, wow, that is terribly destroyed. Lachain, verse 5, ati dibarti al sherit hagoyim v'al edom kulo, asher natnu et artzi lahem lemorasha b'simchat kol levav b'shat nefesh leman migrasha lavaz. So God says, yes, my blazing wrath has spoken against all of Edom with contempt and with anger because what they have done to my people. Therefore, offer now the prophecy. What's the prophecy to the land of Israel? So say it again to all the valleys and the hills and the waters. Say, I declare with my blazing wrath, because you have suffered the taunting of the other nations, right? That's what you've suffered. Therefore, I'm going to stretch out my hand. I'm going to stretch out my hand, and those nations that are around you, they will suffer. Vatem hare Yisrael anafchem titenu. But you, Israel, you will yield produce and fruit. Because I will care for you, I will turn for you, I will work the land. I will be the one who is Zorea, who sows and tills and etc., etc. And here, right, we talked about this before from a number of chapters ago when we had the idea kivakarat roeh edro, the idea of God as the shepherd of the Jewish people, and talking about on Yom Kippur how it's in the Netana Kokef and people associated with God's wrath and God seeing you naked and you're alone. But the idea is there's supposed to be a tender image, and we see that here as well. God is saying, I'm not pulling out weeds. I'm putting in drip lines. I will settle a large population on your whole house. The towns will be settled, the ruined sites rebuilt. I will multiply humans and animals and will increase, and you'll resettle where you used to live, and you'll be more prosperous than you were before. And then you shall know that I am God. We've said it many times, mentioned again. Here's again one of those 30 points. So much of the early parts of the book was you will know there's God from the destruction. God has said over and over again through his prophets Yirmiyahu, through his prophet Yechezkel, destruction is imminent, it's coming. You didn't believe me. Now it's happened. You see that I am God, that I was truthful in what I spoke, and now you will see the redemption will happen. We're in verse 12. Pasuk Yudbet V'olachti alechem adam et ami Yisrael v'rei shucha v'chayita lahem l'nachala v'lo tosif od l'shaklam. And so, my people Israel, I will you're going to go back to the land that was yours. You're going to go back to the land of Canaan, the land of Israel. You will be their heritage, and you will not be caused to have sickness and horrors in your life again. There will not be a reason for that. Obviously, it happens hundreds of years later. There's destruction in the Second Temple period, but at this point in time, where Yechezkel is talking to, the people are going to come back. It's not going to be simple and easy, but they will come back. They will rebuild the temple. They will build a Jewish community. Ko amar Adonai Elohim Yan omrim lachem ochelet adam at umishakelet goyayich hayit. So God says, the land of Israel was a land that devoured people, and you have become the bereaver of nations. L'chein adam lo tochli v'goyayich lo tishakli od nu'um Adonai Elohim. And therefore God says, it's not going to happen anymore. Your land's not going to devour. People are not going to come. They're not going to destroy you. Lo ashmiya elayich od klimat hagoyim v'cherpat amim lo tisi od v'goyayich lo tichach shili od ne'um Adonai Elohim. I will not allow the other nations to insult you. You will not suffer their insults and their terrible things, and you will never again stumble. If only these verses could have come true at some point, or could come true at some point for the people of Israel. We're now 17. Ben Adam. Beit Yisrael Yoshvim al Matam. So we get back to something that Yechezkel mentioned a lot of times. Israel the nation of Israel was in the land of Israel, and they defiled the land. They were like a menstruous woman, like a nidah. Of course, menstruation is just part of life, part of the process of making new life. But obviously, in the ancient period, it was understood that was part of the making of life. It also had this association of sort of banishment and defiling. And therefore, I will pour my wrath on them for the blood that they shed, and for all the idols that they worshipped. I will scatter them among trees. They'll go all different places. When they come to those nations, that caused my holy name to be profaned, what's going to be said? They'll say, these are God's people, but they had to leave their land. So there's going to be this understanding in Bavel, there's going to be understanding in Syria, there's going to be this understanding in Egypt, wherever it might be, according to Yechezkel, that people are going to know these were God's people who had to leave their lands. And therefore, for my own name, to have chamal, to have mercy for my own name, asher chilu beit Yisrael, bagoyim asher ba'u shama. Therefore, because of my name, I don't want my reputation to be ruined. So I'm going to protect Bnei Yisrael. Emor lebeit Yisrael kol amar Adonai Elohim lo lemanchem ani oseh beit Yisrael ki im l'shem kodshi asher chilaltem bagoyim asher batem sham. And so say to the people of Israel, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to save you. I'm going to bring you back to the land of Israel. You're going to prosper there. But I'm not doing it because you've done anything right. I'm doing it so that my reputation is not destroyed, so that I don't become profane. This is similar to what Moshe said after the golden calf, and God threatens to destroy Bnei Yisrael, where Moshe says, the nations are going to say, "Mi bilti Yecholet Hashem," that God was not. You were able to conquer Egypt, but you weren't able to defeat the gods of the desert. That's one of the things Moshe says. It's going to ruin your reputation if you destroy Bnei Yisrael. Continuing, v'kidashti et shmi hagadol ha'mechulal b'goyim asher chilaltem b'tochem v'yadu ha'goyim ki ani Adonai nu ma'Adonai Elohim b'hikdashi b'chem le'eineihem. And I will sanctify my name that has been profaned amongst the nations, because you have profaned it. But now the nations will know of the truth of God when I demonstrate my holiness before them presumably, how is that being done? By verse 24, it's going to be, what's going to demonstrate that is the bringing of the people Bnei Israel back to Israel. Kibbutz Golio, the ingathering of the exile, something that's not believed and not expected. A verse that we cite a lot over the high holiday period. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and I will sprinkle upon you purifying waters, and will become purified. Mikol tumotechem, mikol gelulechem ataheretchem. I will purify you from all of the evils that you have done, from all of your defilements. V'natati lachem leiv chadash, veruach chadasha atein b'kirbechem, and I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit into you. Vasiroti et leiv ha'even mibsarchem, v'natati lachem leiv basar. I will remove your heart of stone from your body. I'll give you a heart of flesh, that stubbornness, that easy way in which you followed idols. You're going to get a new start. You're going to start anew. It's a big piece of what Yechezkel spoke about so often in this book, where, right, we have the Jews in Israel, the Merkava, God's chariot has left Israel, has left Jerusalem. The surviving Jews, the ones who are going to come back, are not the ones who stayed in Israel and fought Nebuchadnezzar. They're the ones who listened to God and submitted to Nebuchadnezzar's rule and are living in Babel. That's going to be, not all of them, but that's going to be the main community that comes back. So in a sense, it's like a new community. As I'm sure you know, these are the sort of things that Christians see in the Old Testament as proof to New Testament, right? The replacement. That ruchi atain b'kirbechem vasiti et asher b'chukotai telechu b'shmatai tishmu vasitem. I'll put my spirit into you, and I will cause you to follow my laws and observe my rules. We have there, as we've mentioned many, many times in this book, the language of the book of Vayikra, the end of Vayikra, Parshat b'chukotai, the blessings and cursing that we have over and over again, that Yechezkel has worked off in his book, right? Asher b'chukotai telechu b'shmatai tishmu is almost the exact language of Parshat Bechukotai and Bechukotai Telechu Mishmotai Tishmeru Vasitem Otam. So, and again, over and over again, we have that. Clearly, that was his main reference sort for these people. There's the blessings, there's and there are the curses, and the punishment has come, and now the blessings will and the rewards will come as well. Vishavtem ba'aretz, also same thing. Vishavtem ba'aretz is also there. You will dwell in the land. Asher natati lavotechem ve'ti lahem la'ab anuchi eyelachem le'elohim, and our relationship will be back together. Right? You will be my people. I will be your God. We're in verse 29. Voshati etchem mikol tumotechem v'krati el hadagan v'rbeti otov lo atein lechem ra'ah. And I will deliver you, and there'll be enough food. I'll make sure I summon the grain. V'hirbeti et pri ha'etz, and I'll make fruit trees grow. Utnuvat hasadeh, and the crops of the field. L'man asher lo tichu od cherpat ra'av bagoyim, so that you won't be humiliated anymore by the nations, that you are hungry, that you have no food. And think about, right, for how many centuries the insult of Christians to Jews, not every Christian, but right, look at the Jews. They don't accept Jesus, and they are a poor people, and they have no homeland, and they have no autonomy, and they have no strength, and this is, if they would just come and accept our Lord, then everything would change for them. They would be so this is something that's been used over and over again. It's just interesting, anti-Semitism doesn't matter. If the Jews are poor, they're vermin and they're poor. And if the Jews are rich, they control the world and they're rich. But here, this idea of you won't be humiliated anymore is something that is, we know all too well throughout history. Unfortunately, many times has been used to desecrate our reputation, God's reputation, our people. Continuing verse 31, Uzchartem et darkeichem hara'im v'aleichem la'shalot tovim unekototem bifnechem al avonotechem v'al avotechem. And you will recall your evil ways, your bad conduct, and you'll hate yourselves for the bad things that you have done. But, right, this will lead to improvement. Lo l'ma'anchem, God goes again, he says, not for your sake, ani osenu ma'adonai Elohim yivadalachem boshu v'hiklamu midarchechem beit Yisrael. Again, I'm not doing this for your sake. You've been ashamed, and I've been ashamed. I've been humiliated. Kol amar Adonai Elohim b'yom tari etchem mikol avonotechem v'shavti et harim v'nivnu hecharavot. So God says, on the day that I purify you from all of your sins, and I return you to the lands, and I rebuild your your places that have been destroyed, the places that are charev, the places that have been destroyed. The haaretz hanishama te'aved tachat asher hayta shemama le'nei kol over, and the land that after it was empty, right? Nobody was working it, and it was desolate. Once again, it will be planted. It will be worked. V'amru haaretz halezu hanishama hayta gan Eden. And what are the people going to say? This land, right? In the past, there was this land which was so beautiful, right? To think of the Echa hayta lezona kiryan ne'amana, the book of Echa. How could this beautiful city become a harlot? How is it empty? It used to be full. Now the reverse is going to happen. Yechezkel is going to say. What are people going to say? This land, which was once desolate, has now become again the Garden of Eden. We've spoken over the last, number of chapters. The Garden of Eden is not oftentimes used too much in the books of Tanakh as going back to sort of an ideal. It is sort of in a meta way underneath, but not directly. And here, for one of the number of times where Yechezkel talks about this return in a sense to Eden. Yashavu, right? So the land has become like Eden. The cities once ruined and ravaged are now full and fortified. God says the nations will know because I rebuilt those ruined places. I replanted the desolate land. This is what I said. And over again in these books we have God said, this is what I said. And now it's come to pass. And so God says, moreover, to the house of Israel, I will multiply them like sheep. Kitson kadashim, kitson Yerushalayim b'moadeha. Kain tiena harim hecharevot mleot son adam v'yadu tian yadonai. Just as Jerusalem is filled with sacrificial sheep during the festivals, so the ruined city will be filled with lots of people. And this way they will know that I am God. So God here in this, right, this is last we've had some of the prophecies we've talked about really about still the bad leadership, but now we have turned the page and we are talking once again about a great return to Israel, rebuilding of cities, and in a way, in a sense, at least from here, it says it's almost like it's going to be more prosperous than it was the first time around. That's not what happens with the second temple. That prophecy does not come true, but the belief, the hope is that this return will be one that will be complete. And certainly we know that the children of Israel do return and they do rebuild the temple and rebuild their city, Jerusalem, and other places around it.